Good morning to all. Myself, N. Magesh Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of CST. First of all, I thanks to the MITS management to giving this e-content facility for us. Today's sessions, we have to discuss the topic of static variable, method, and the block. Okay. So before that, so in the Java, we are using three types of variables we have to use. That is a local variable, and the next instance variable, and the next last one is a static variable. So you know the differentiate both three of them. Those local variable is nothing but any variable can be declared within the main method, means that is known as the local variable, that can be accessed by using object we have to use. So that is a local variable. Instance variable is nothing but any variable can be declared within the class, and then above the any method, means that is known as the instance variables, that can be accessed by using, we have to use the object we have to use. And the next third one is a static variable. Any variable can be declared as a keyword static, means that is known as a static variable, that can be accessed by using directly or class name we have to use. Okay, these are three type of variable we have to use in the Java program. Now we have to discuss briefly along with the examples. So what is meant by static variable, and what is meant by static method, and then static block. All those things we have to discuss in the today's sessions. Okay, now let me start. Let us start today's sessions in the topic of static variable, method, and blocks. Okay, before that, in Java, each and every program can be defined by using class only. So in Java, the program should be contained, all the things will be having in that class only. In that class, we have to declare variable and method. So each and every class having these two things. Now, if we want to access that variable and method, means, so we have to create one instance. So we have to create a instance. So that is known as object. So by using that object, we have to invoke this method, and then by using this object, we have to declare that variable and also. Okay, so there is a procedures we have to follow. But today's we have to discuss in the topic of static variable. So what is meant by static variable, and what is meant by static method, and what is meant by static block? We'll see one by one. For first, a static variable. So static variable is any variable can be declared within the class. Any variable can be declared within the class, that is known as static variables. That is known as static variable. And the next, when you are declaring any variable is static, means we have to use the keyword statics. So by using the keyword static to declare that variable. That is the second important things. And then very, very important things, when you are accessing that static variables, we have to use the two way we have to access the static variables and all. So first we have to access directly. So second one, we have to use the class name to access that variables and all. So these are three important things when you are using static variables. So static variable is nothing but any variable can be declared within the class, that is known as the static variables. And then when you are declaring any variable by using static keyword, means that is known as the static variable. And then the static variables can be accessed either directly or class name. Okay. So when we have to use directly, and when we have to use the class name. Suppose the class contain only all the declaration, the method, and then declaration part having only one class, means only one class, means in this case we have to access those variable and method directly. Suppose if the program having multiple class, if the program having multiple classes, means in these cases we have to use the class name to access those static variable and all. Okay, so that is the first thing, static variable. And the next, static method. So static method is nothing but, it is also, the static method is nothing but, if you declare any any method by using the keyword static, means that is known as the static methods. So next one is the static methods. So what is the static method? Any method can be defined at, any method can be defined at by using the keyword static. By using the keyword static, means that is known as the static method. Okay, so this is also similar to the static variables only. So it can be invoked. The static method can be, invoked by either directly or use the class name we have to use. Okay, so we have to invoke the static method by two way, that is either directly or class name, similar to the variables only. When we have to use the directly, means if the method can be having single classes, means in these cases we have to access directly. Suppose if the method having, the program having more than one classes, means in these cases we have to use the class name to invoke the static method. Okay, so that is the static method. And the next, third one is the static block. So what is meant by static block? So static block is nothing but, if you want to use the keyword static within the keyword, we have to use the any piece of code, means that is known as the static block. So whatever the informations we have to specify within the static keyword, means that is known as the static block. Okay, so static block is nothing but, so we have to use the keyword static within the static keyword. Whatever the code, whatever the piece of code, we have to define that within the static keyword, that is known as static block. So whatever the thing here, whatever the informations we have to specify, all those things should be known as the static blocks. Okay, so how to access this static block and all? So when you are accessing this static block, we won't call any, without any explicit calls, without any explicit call to access the static block. So without any explicit call, we want any explicit call, and without any explicit call we have to access the static block and all. So how to access without any explicit call, means with the help of reference. So we have, with the help of that reference, we have to accessing with the help of reference. With the help of reference, so we have to access the static block. So reference in the sense, what the meaning of the reference in the sense? Suppose if you are creating any object for the particular classes, means, so if you want to create any object, means in these cases automatically we have to create a reference. With the help of that reference, we have to access to the static block. Or if you want to use any within the classes, if you are using any static variable, or if you are using any static method, means, so we have to access those things and all. So that is the reference. Okay, so with the help of that reference, we have to accessing the static block. Okay, so that is known as the static blocks. Okay, so static block is nothing but, so if any piece of code we have to define that within the static block, means that is known as the static keyword, means that is known as the static block. And the next, when you are accessing the static block without any explicit call, we have to access the static block and all. So how to access static block without any explicit call, means we have to use the reference. So what is reference in the sense? Whenever, if you are creating any object, or if you are in the class, if you are using any static variable, or if you are using any static method, means in these cases we have to create our own reference. With the help of that reference, we have to access the static block and also. Okay, so that is the static block. Now once again now we have to see the one examples. You have to understood clearly for all those things. Now we'll see the one examples. by using static block, static variable, and the static method. So if you want to this example, first I have to define the class name, class, and the next name of the class is static demo. And then within the classes, already I told in the Java program, if you are defining any classes mean it should be contain variable and the method. Now we have to declare one variable. So here I have to declare the type of static variables. So static and the next int a is equal to 50. Now I have to declare one static variables and then I have to declare one static methods. So static any method can be defined by using the keyword means that is known as the static method. Now I have to define that one method static. The name of the method is show. So already you know what I meaning for the method. If you want to perform any task, if you want to perform any task means that can be defined in the method only. So inside that method, I got to specify some task that is system dot out dot println. I got to specify one task that is a welcome to MITS. So these are some task I have to define that within the method. Now next I have to use the main method. Already I told any variable or any variable can be declared within the classes and then above the main method means that is known as the static variable and all. So here is the one static variable. Now I have to define that one. I have to specify the main method. So public static void main string. So inside the main method. So now we have to whenever in that main method we have to accessing those static variable and the static method and all. Now we want to access that static variables. So system dot out dot println. Now one output statement. The static variable is equal to plus name of the variables, and the next we have to call the static method. The name of the method is show and then close the main functions and then close the classes. So these are simple examples for using the static method and the static variables. So here when you are executing these programs, we are expecting. So here we are declared two things, that is these known as the static variable. This is the static method. So when you are executing this program, what will happen? The execution will be start into the main functions, and the next after that we are expecting. So first after that this output statement will be executed. Already I told. So if you are using any static variable means we have to access those variable by using either directly or we have to use the class name we have to use. Already we are discussed, but here we are accessing directly. So what is the reason we are accessing directly? So if all the method and variable having single program means single classes means, so the method and the static variables contain single classes means in these cases we have to access directly to the static variable and the static method and all. In our example, it's having the single class, single within the single classes only we have to define that all those things and all. So what will happen? So here we have to use the we have to access directly. So now if you are executing these programs, so what will happen? Output. So we are expecting the static variable is equal to static variable is equal to. So what is the value of a? The 50 will be printed, and the next after executing the statement, next statement will be executed. So we have to call the static method. So how to call that? We have to call explicitly. So we have to call explicitly. So when you are calling this method, automatically where we have to define it. The flow will be go to here. We are defined it here. So in that method, we are defined it some task. So what is the task we are defined it? Welcome to MITS. So that will be printed. Welcome to MITS. So this is the output we are expecting when you are executing this program and also. Suppose in case instead of static variable, I have to use the int a is equal to 15 and the next I have to define that one method. Name of the method is show. In these cases, what will happen here is the we are declared inside the class, we are declared one variable. The name of the variable is a and then initialize the value also. A is equal to 15 and the next time we have to define that one method. So in these cases, what is this type of variable and the method? In Java, there are three type of variables we have to use. That is the local variable, instance variable, and the next static variable. So these any variable can be declared within the classes means that is known as the static variable. Sorry, instance variable. Now this is the instance variable. So any variable can be declared within the classes. Suppose any variable can be declared within the method means that is known as a local variable. Here we are using one instance variable. So if you want to access those instance variable means what will happen? We have to create a one object. With the help of that object only, we have to access those variable and then invoking this method and all. Now, if you are executing this program means what will happen? It will be generate the error. The reason is, so here we are accessing directly. Okay. So if you are accessing directly means it will not, we are not getting any output at all. The reason is we are using instance variable and then so what will happen? So we have to create a one object. With the help of that object only, we have to access those instance variable and all. So we have to create a one object. So how to create an object? By using class name. So what is the class name here? Static demo and then create the one instance. The name of this instance is SD and then equal to, we have to use the new operators and then define the constructor. Constructor is the class name. So what is the class name here? Static demo. And then after that, by using, now we have created one instance. How to create one instance? With the help of that new operators. Okay. So what is the purpose for using the constructor? Here we have to initialize the value for this object. So if you want to initialize the value for that object, we have to define that one constructor. Now we want to access those instance variable means. So what we have to do? So we have to use the object name, that is the sd dot a and then here we have to use the object name sd. If you want to invoke that method means sd dot show. So if you are now we are executing means now we are getting the output. The reason is the variable and the method and all we have to declare as a instance. So that's why if the instance variable can be accessed by using the object name only. So that is the difference between that instance and the local, sorry, static variables. Okay. So static int a is equal to 15 and the next static. Now we will come to the our previous example, static show. Now we have to remove that object and the next we have to directly we have to access the static variables and then directly invoking to the this method and all. Okay. So these are simple examples for the static variable and the static method. And the next we will see what is a static block. Already I told the static block is nothing but any piece of code we have to define that within the static keyword means that is known as the static block. Now here I have to, now we are declared one static variable and then we are defined at one static method and the next we have to define that one static block also, static and the next some task system dot out dot println. So some message I have to specify some message it's a static block, and the next close that block, and the next now we have to specify the main functions: public, static, void, main, string, args, and the next. So we have to, within the main functions, we have to invoking all those things. Whatever the variable we have to declare, whatever the method we have to define it, all those things we have to access within the main method only. So here system dot out dot println static variable is equal to plus a, and the next static method, the name of the method we have to invoke directly by, we have to invoke the directly by the static variable and the static method, and then close the main method and then close the class. Now in these examples it's having the three things, that is the static variable and then static method and then static block. Three things will be available in this example. Now we want to execute this program, means what is the output we are expecting. So already I told, so if you are executing this program means, so what will happen, so we have to access the static variable directly and then access the static method directly. But how to execute the static block? Already I told, the static block will be execute without any explicit call at all, without any explicit call. So without any explicit call in the sense, so with the help of reference only we have to use it. So how to create that reference? Now the, when you start the executions, the execution will be start with the main functions, and the next day now we have to access the static variable. So in this cases what will happen, the static variable is the one of the reference. So with the help of that reference it will be checked it's having any static block is there or not. Yes, static block is there. So what will happen, first it will execute that with the help of that reference. Now we are created the reference with the help of static variable and the static method only. Already we are created, we are declared one static variable and then we are defined that one static method also. So by this variable and the method will be given one reference for executing the static block. So first the static block will be executed. In this, inside the static block, so we are mentioned some task. What is the task we are mentioned? So it is a static block. It is a static block that statement will be executed. After that we have to access the static variable. So static variable is nothing but static variable is equal to, we have to print that value and then we have to call that static method directly. So that is a welcome to MITS. Okay, so these are the procedures, these output we are expecting when you are executing this program and all. So as of now we are declared all those things within the single classes only. So if you are declared single classes, so what we have to do, so we have to access directly. Suppose in our program having multiple classes, means in our program having multiple classes means how to access. Already I told we have to use the class name we have to use. Now we'll see the one examples. Okay, now I have to remove that one, erase those things. Now we have to see the another one examples. So class name is static demo, and the next all the method, variable, and then block and all I have to define it one class, and then main method I have to define it in the another classes. That is the program having multiple classes, means in these cases how to access the variables, how to invoke the method and all we'll see. Now class static demo, and the next I have to declare one variable static int x is equal to 50, and the next I have to define that one method static show And the next within the method I have to define it some task system dot out dot println welcome to MITS, and then close the method, and then I have to specify the one block static inside the block. So any piece of code defined within the static keyword means that is known as a static block. Here system dot out dot println some information. This is the CST department. Now I have to close the static block and then close the classes. Now all those things will be having in one classes, that is a static variable, static method, and the next static block, everything having in one class, and then main functions can be defined in the another classes, that is the class name is class, and the next I have to define that class name is static main, and the next so inside the class I have to define the one main functions public static void main string arguments. Now within the main functions we have to access all those things. So we have to access all those things. So how to access? Already I told, if they are program having the multiple classes means, suppose if you want to access any static variable or static method means we have to use the class name we have to use. Okay. Now what will happen here? The program having the multiple classes. These are one classes, and the next these are another classes. This first classes it's having the all those static members, that is static variable and the static method and all. In this another one classes it's having the main function. So what we have to, so now we want to access all those things. So how to access? So system dot out dot println the static variable is equal to plus. Now we want to access the static variable. So here we have to use the second options, that is that we are using two options. We have to access directly our class name. Here we have to use the second option. So we have to use the class name we have to use. So what is the class name? We have the which class having the static variable and the static method, that class we have to use here. So the class name is static demo. In that classes only we are defined the static method and the static declared the static variable and all. So we have to use the class name static demo dot a, and the next we have to invoking the static method. So I have to use the class name I have to use static demo dot, what is the name of the method? Show, and the next close the main method and then close the class. Now we have to execute this program. These are concatenations. So plus. Now we have to execute this program. So what is the output we are expecting? So when you are executing these programs, first the execution start with the main functions, and the next now we have to one print statement. In this print statements we are accessing static variable. So what will happen when you are accessing that static variable means automatically we are creating one reference. With the help of that reference we have to execute the static block. So here without any explicit call we have to invoking the static block and all. Now when you are accessing the static variable, so now in these classes we have to create one reference. With the help of that reference, first we have to execute the static block. So what is the task we are mentioned in that static block? Some output statement. This is the CST department. So that will be printed here. This is CST department, and then the static variable, that is a static variable is equal to so that value, that is a we are accessing that variable by using class name we have to use. So what is the value we are assigning that variable A? A is equal to 15. Sorry, X. So what is the value? So X is equal to initialized as the 15. That value will be printed here. And the next step, we are invoking that method. The name of the method is show. So by using the class name, we are invoking that method. So in that method, we have specified some task. So what is the task we have specified? Welcome to MITS. So this is the output we are exporting when you are executing this program and all. Okay. So this is the second examples. So first examples, within the single classes, we have to declare the static variable and then static method and all. So those variable and the method can be accessed directly. The second examples, the program having more than one class, the one class having the static variable and the method, another class having the main method. So if you want to access those static variable and method, means we have to use the class name we have to use. Okay. So that is the second examples. I hope all of them understood. So what is the meaning of the static variable, method and the block and also. Okay. So now I have to summarize whatever the thing we have to discuss in the today's sessions. Okay. So first, what's my static variable? So static variable is nothing but any variable can be declared within the class, and then by using keyword static, means that is known as the static variables. And the next step, that can be accessed either by using directly or class name we have to use. Okay. So that is the static variable. And the next, static method. So static method is nothing but if any method can be defined by using the keyword static, means that is known as the static keyword. It is also accessed by using either directly or class name we have to use. Okay. And the next, static block. So any piece of code can be defined within the static keyword, means that is known as the static block, that can be accessed without any explicit call. And without any explicit call, we have to access the static block. So how to access that without any explicit call? How to access? With the help of reference. So we have to create the reference. With the help of that reference, we have to access in the static block and also. Okay. So when you are declaring any variable and method static, means we already told we are use the either directly or class name. So when we have to use directly, when we have to access class name, means if the method and the static method and the variable having single classes, means in these cases we have to access directly. If the static variable and the method having the multiple classes, means so we have to use the class name we have to use to access all those things. Okay. That's all about the today sessions. If we have any doubt, you have to ask to me. Otherwise, I have to stop. I have to wind up my classes. Okay. Thank you, students.